Hi, PowerShell community, and welcome our guest today, Guy Leech, a two-time Cloud and Datacenter MVP from the United Kingdom. He's one of the 40+ speakers of the upcoming PowerShell conference in Europe, which takes place in the beautiful country of Austria. Thanks for your time, and would you please introduce a little so our community gets a better idea of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Where do I start? When did I write my first code? 1980, when some of you were, mine is how old? So that was Commodore Basic back then. Computer science degree in the 80s. Started programming on Unix machines, writing device drivers for hard disks and BIOS and things like that. Then in 1995, if I remember correctly, I got involved with the dark side, as in Windows and CITRIX and end user computing. I had to learn about what domains were and all that sort of side of things. And then I found with sort of Citrix solutions and things like that, they never quite got you to 100% of the solution. So I always did bits of glue, which back then were little bits of code, probably C or C++, compiled up into X's, just to try and get things to work properly. I've always been scripting. We've done logon scripts in that world for forever and a day with Batch and Kickstart and VBS. And then I found this PowerShell thing. Although I was quite late to the game. It was 2014 I got into PowerShell. I mean, PowerShell had been around for quite a bit by then, because it had always been a case of, I need to fix something quickly, stick with what you know. I haven't got time to pick up a new language, so fall back on VBS or Batch. And then when I've finally gone into PowerShell, it's like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? And I think because my background is that of a former professional developer, it kind of helps me to structure the code. Also helps me in debugging other people's, not necessarily scripts, but just troubleshooting in general. So it's another thing I'm sort of known for in the community, is being able to troubleshoot sort of hard and difficult problems, because I can think like a developer and do developer type things as well. So even write troubleshooting tools. So the scripts I put on GitHub, some are for automation and making life easier, quite a lot for troubleshooting, around the event log and that sort of side of things. Because ultimately I'm lazy. I don't like doing things manually. Event viewer, God, that's a bit tedious and that sort of stuff. So I'll just spend, 3 weeks writing a script to save myself 5 minutes. The thing is, saves me 5 minutes. No, I'm joking. It saves a lot more than that. But then hopefully it'll help other people. So I've got 100+ scripts on GitHub now for troubleshooting, automation, and that sort of side of things across not just end user computing, but sort of Windows in general.
What, more than 100? You said?
Oh yeah, well more than 100 now into various repos, Citrix, VMware, Microsoft, general ones. There's even a few X's up there now with source code as well for things I couldn't quite script. But again, as we know with PowerShell, or if you don't know, you can do pretty much everything.
Yes, definitely. So everything you can touch with the API or something like else, you can do with PowerShell.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that leads me to your session. So what I see, you have 2 sessions at the PowerShell conference. One is the Runspaces, let's work in parallel. And I think one of my favorites, because I love also to talk to REST APIs, is using REST APIs via PowerShell. So would you tell us a little bit about your sessions, and why, of course, should the community attend your sessions?
Well, REST APIs is something that more and more vendors are exposing now. And for a long time, we've not had to use them. You still don't have to use them. So you get your own PowerShell module or somebody else's PowerShell modules, which is great. But a lot of the work I do is for vendors, and say, well, if you want to run this script, you need this particular PowerShell module. Go and install that, which to those of us who do PowerShell, that's easy. But to people who don't do PowerShell, it's like, install a module. Where do I get that from? How do I do that? How do I get that onto all these machines? Do I trust it? Do I have to run it through my security department? And the beauty of doing REST through PowerShell is there are no prerequisites. So I don't have to go and get any of those modules. The requests that or rather commandlets that we need are built into PowerShell. They're better in PowerShell 7 but they've been there since PowerShell 3, so we can use those and write a script, and it's going to work. Well, assuming you don't have any bugs and those other small things that occasionally creep in. And it just gives you a great deal of ability to call lots of different things. And once you've got sort of familiar with REST for one particular API, let's say, I keep harping on about CITRIX because that's kind of the world I move in. But I can then reapply that to, well, I've been doing a lot of Azure stuff through REST recently, VMware Horizon, anybody who's got a REST API. The authentication sometimes is a little bit different, but again, most people usually, there are examples out there. If you can't find them, if nothing else, press that dreaded F12 key in your browser. If you don't then get arrested by the FBI, and you can actually see, what requests are going there to and from a server. So we can debug those easily. So yeah, REST just gives you that ability to just do whatever the API does underneath. But quite simply, once you've got commandlets to wrap them, simple functions, it's as easy as calling a one-line commandlet that from a library, but you don't need to import that module.
Yeah. So you also prefer REST API over a PowerShell module?
Yes, I do now, mainly because I don't have to get those prerequisites installed. Yeah. So if you're doing things yourself, you can control your environment, and you can keep those modules up to date and install them. You know where they come from. That's great. But I work with software vendors, and getting that stuff out there is difficult. People just can't do it, or they've got the wrong version, and it's not on that machine. I'm talking to vendors who will be running scripts on thousands of machines, which they don't control. So you've got to go for what we call the lowest common denominator. PowerShell. I mean, at the moment, PowerShell 7 is all the rage. It's definitely better. It's faster. I have to write scripts that are compatible with PowerShell 3 still, because some of these customers are running Windows 7 or Server 2008 R2 in production.
Really?
That's out of support. Yeah, we've won the battle. We don't have to make them PowerShell 2 compatible anymore. We did for a while. That was painful. So all these nice new features in the later versions. Sometimes I dream of it. But I'm doing more stuff myself with 7 now, and things like Terraform, and so I'm getting to use it a bit.
Okay, so how do you deal with, as you said, PowerShell 7? How do you deal with the some modules are incompatible with the later versions? So Active Directory, for example, is not fully PowerShell 7. We have some other products. How do you deal with that?
CITRIX is another one, because
is CITRIX another one? Okay.
Yeah, their modules are based on snap-ins, which were deprecated in version 2 of PowerShell.
Oh.
So that makes it quite painful for those. Active Directory, for instance, again, because of my sort of lowest common denominator, if I have to write Active Directory PowerShell scripts, then I generally use the ADSI interface, because I know that's going to be around. So it can be a little bit more painful.
Yeah.
But for simple things like checking users, getting groups, that sort of side of things, once you've got a good example, and there's plenty of them out there, then it's quite easy to reuse that code.
Okay, so what I've seen on your LinkedIn page, and also what you explained or talked to us right now, you're doing a lot of automation integration in different products or vendors. So what was the most impressive task or process you have ever had automated? So what are you still thinking about, or say, oh, that was cool?
Good question. There's one I've not actually released yet for CITRIX, where it will build the whole environment, because of CITRIX's inability to produce modules that work with the later versions of PowerShell, things like Terraform providers and so on are wishful thinking at the moment. So people who want to automate those environments, I've got a script. It was one of those things. It started off, I think, I'll get this done in a couple of hours. And then, I'm still adding bits to it now. The parameter block has 30 plus parameters. Most are optional. Again, I want to try and make these things as simple as possible, but you want to make it as flexible as possible as well. So that will build up effectively a whole CITRIX environment from scratch. So once you've got what they call a delivery controller, so the machine that controls the environment, then this will just create everything that's required to eventually be able to give you a desktop that a user could actually then log into.
Wow. So with one single script to get a whole CITRIX environment?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
And I must get round to releasing that. That's the trouble. I say I've got 100 plus scripts on GitHub. I've probably got another 50 plus, which I haven't got round to releasing yet, mainly because I have to put the comment block at the top with all the parameters and the examples and everything else. It's always the bit I leave till last and the bit I hate. And when you make your script so flexible that you've got 30 parameters, then you've got to do a lot of documentation and a lot of examples.
So you also like documentation like I do?
Oh, I love documentation. My favorite
Oh, great.
thing. Yes.
Great. Okay. So back to the PowerShell conference. Have you been in Austria before? Or will it be your first visit?
I've never been to Austria, so I'm quite looking forward to it.
Okay.
In fact, no, I'm very much looking forward to it, actually. I like to travel. I haven't travelled anywhere since January 2020 outside of the UK, so it'd be good to get out and about and meet some people that I haven't met before face to face.
Yeah. So will you be there just for the conference, or will you do some more days to spend some days in Vienna or Austria?
I'd like to, but unfortunately, I'm not self-employed. My accountant tells me I'm freelance, so that means if I don't work, I don't get paid.
Okay.
So I have to get the right balance between
of course,
the community stuff, because it's like, oh, I'm going to write this script today. Yeah, I've written this script today. But I haven't done any paid work, therefore I can't get any money.
Okay, understand. So when you think about Austria, what is the first thing what comes in your mind? What is typical, in your opinion, for Austria?
Yeah. Well, thank you for warning me about these questions, putting me on the spot.
It wouldn't make
Sound
sense.
of Music? So. Was the Sound of Music? Was that Austria, or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, that's the typical thing everyone knows about Austria. Yeah. Okay, but what do you looking forward to see or do in Austria? Is there anything you're looking forward to?
Food. Yeah.
Food.
Absolutely. I've loved sampling different countries' cuisines. I went for a Vietnamese meal last night for the first time in Yorkshire in the UK. That was quite interesting. But my favourite food is generally Thai. But yeah, I just like trying food around the world and trying the local dishes.
Okay, so we have a lot of in Austria to try. So I think you will like it.
Oh, I hope so. I'm not very fussy. I'm really looking forward to trying it.
Okay, so we talked already about what automation you did what was the most impressive one. I assume, and I still see the same like I do, you are a little bit of a nerdy, and do automation not only in your business times, maybe also in your spare time, in your free time, at your home. So what was the funniest thing you ever did automated, maybe with PowerShell?
And I'll be honest, in that my sort of leisure time, I've got various smart things around the house and doorbells and lights and that sort of side of things. But if I'm sat down on the sofa with my laptop out coding, then I'll generally code something for the community around end user computing or troubleshooting or something like that, or just teaching myself something. So I'm getting into Terraform and Packer at the moment. So I don't do much outside of the if you like the work type of things, but I'm not always working. To relax, I'll write a PowerShell script because I enjoy it.
Completely understand.
I see it almost like art. Whereas an artist will take a blank canvas and come up with a picture. I'll take a blank ISE window. No, sometimes VS Code if I'm doing 7, but I'm old school and do ISE, and then it's like, right, what am I going to do? I'm going to automate this particular bit of CITRIX, or I'm going to write some troubleshooting code to try and find this particular problem or fix this problem.
Okay, but that leads me to one more question. Why are you not using VS Code? Because VS Code is somewhat you love it or you hate it. So I'm not sure. I love it. So since 2 years right now, I think I'm using VS Code. But why not?
I had some problems with it when I first started trying to use it. My excuse for a long time was that I was doing a lot of coding on customer systems. And what you learn is you've got to use what's available, and you can't always guarantee that VS Code is going to be there. Whereas ISE, as long as it's PowerShell 3 or above, it's probably going to be there. but then obviously doing more PowerShell 7 stuff. Yeah, I'll try it. But I had a lot of crashes and a lot of inconsistent behavior.
Okay.
I do like it. I mean, being able to change the code while it's still running, so that you don't forget to do something, and all the add-ins and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do use it a lot for editing other things. But
Okay.
at the moment, not so much with the PowerShell. But I do keep trying, but then I get bitten by something. But that's not to say ISE isn't without problems. You know, when you do a lot of stuff with WPF user interfaces, ISE seems to crash quite frequently as well. So nothing's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question for today: what is your favorite PowerShell commandlet and your favorite PowerShell module?
Commandlet, possibly out grid view, because certainly from the troubleshooting point of view, it's very easy to get stuff into it and then be able to filter and search and be able to put things like event logs, for instance, from all 300 plus event logs into a single grid view. It just makes life a lot easier. Module, it's difficult because a lot of my work is for vendors where you can't guarantee that modules are around. I tend not to use many third-party modules.
Okay. So you will stay at the commandlet, maybe invoke REST method.
Yeah, I mean that gives you a lot of scope to do a heck of a lot of stuff, and there's a lot. The built-in commandlets can give you a lot of useful stuff. I suppose PS read line is kind of almost de facto standard, but that's pretty damn useful, particularly when you've got a history of something like 10,000 lines, like last time I looked mine was, and I can just search through it and all that sort of side of things rather than having to cursor up 9,000 times.
Okay, so Guy, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to meet you in June in Austria. Any last words from your side to the community?
No, just keep on scripting, keep trying. Yeah.
If
first you don't succeed, try again. It's well worth it in the end.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. See you in June.
Cheers.